the clock stopped when the world burned. They're wrong. The gears of our resistance are just starting to turn.
Fall wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the hunt. We crashed into their territory. Trust nothing, not even the shadows.
Silence isn't empty. It's where the real monsters hide. You talk too much. Now, pay attention. The river always claims its own.
The world knew him as John Riley, but legends whispered of and quote, Apex, and quote, a man forged in the crucible of forgotten wars. His past was as shrouded in mist as the jungles he now traversed. His face, etched with the wariness of battles fought and lost, bore the mark of a lone wolf, forever haunted by echoes of sacrifice. His eyes, the color of a stormy sea, held a resolve that few could ever break. Apex found himself deep within the Amazon, a place where the air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and unseen life. The humid embrace of the jungle was a familiar comfort, a stark contrast to the concrete prisons he'd escaped. But this wasn't a retreat, it was a mission. A mission to find his sister, Dr. Lena Riley, a brilliant xenobotanist who had vanished while researching a newly discovered, ancient energy source. His journey began amidst the skeletal remains of a downed cargo plane, its fuselage split open, like a forgotten wound in the heart of the jungle. It was a stark reminder of the perils of this wild frontier. He knew Lena wouldn't have just disappeared. She was too meticulous, too careful. There was a reason, a force, at play. Days bled into nights as Apex pushed through the unforgiving terrain. He navigated treacherous rivers, climbed slippery rock faces, and dodged venomous creatures with the instincts of a seasoned predator. His only companion was a battered satellite phone, its signal sporadic, offering only false hope. But he wasn't truly alone. A creeping sense of dread, a primal whisper in the air, followed him. He could feel eyes on him, not just of the jungle's inhabitants, but something more sinister. One sweltering afternoon, Apex stumbled upon a hidden camp, crudely constructed but strangely sophisticated. It was abandoned, yet the embers in a fire pit still glowed faintly, suggesting recent occupation. Scattered around were strange tools. Some biological, others mechanical, unlike anything he'd ever seen. Then, he found it, Lena's journal, its pages water-damaged but decipherable. Her entries spoke of an ancient, pre-human civilization that had harnessed a unique energy source, and quote, the Lumina, and quote, hidden deep within the jungle. She wrote of its incredible power, its ability to influence plant life, and even consciousness. But her later entries grew frantic, detailing a sinister organization, and quote, Aegis Corp, and quote, that was hunting her. They sought to weaponize the Lumina, twisting its natural power for global dominance. Lena had refused to cooperate, choosing to protect its. This wasn't just about his sister anymore. It was about preventing a global catastrophe. The journal led him to an ancient, moss-covered temple, partially swallowed by the jungle. Its stone walls were adorned with intricate carvings depicting strange symbols and celestial alignments. This was Lena's last known location. As he approached, a faint, rhythmic humming vibrated through the air, growing stronger with each step. Inside the temple, the air was thick with a strange, shimmering mist. In the center stood a pedestal, and upon it, a glowing crystal pulsed with an ethereal blue light. The Lumina. But it wasn't alone. Standing guard was a formidable woman, Kai, a character resembling Image 2, her eyes sharp and focused, a strange, smoky energy swirling around her hands. She was cloaked in rugged, almost primal gear, her movements fluid and, "Who are you, and what?" Kai demanded, Her voice low and firm. And quat. And how did you find this place? And quat. And quat. I'm John Riley. I'm looking for my sister, Dr. Lena Riley, and quat. Apex replied, his voice calm but authoritative. And quat. She was here. And quat. Kai's expression softened slightly. And quat. Lena. She spoke of you. She called you. Apex and quat. Her gaze hardened again. And quat. But you're too late. Aegis Corp has her. They took her from here 3 days ago. And quat. A cold dread gripped Apex's heart. And quat. Where did they take her? And quat. Kai hesitated, then pointed to a hidden passage behind the pedestal. And quat. There's a network of ancient tunnels beneath us. They have a hidden facility, miles from here. They're trying to extract the Lumina's power from Lena. And quat. Apex's eyes met hers, unwavering. And quat. I don't believe I know. I faced worse. And I'm not leaving without her. And quat. A faint smile touched Kai's lips. And quat. Good. Because you're not going alone. And quat. She revealed a hidden dagger, its blade shimmering faintly. And quat. I am the guardian of the Lumina. It chose Lena, and now it guides me. Together, we might just have a chance. And quat. Their alliance was forged in silence, a pact between two lone warriors against a powerful enemy. They entered the dark, twisting tunnels, the faint glow of the Lumina above them the only guide. The air grew colder, the whispers in the dark more intense, as if the ancient stones themselves were warning them of the dangers ahead. This was more than a rescue mission. It was a desperate fight for the future of the world. Part 2. The Heart of the Obsidian Network. The ancient tunnels beneath the temple were a labyrinth of shadows and echoes. Apex and Kai moved with practiced stealth, their senses heightened, navigating the winding passages that seemed to pulse with a faint, otherworldly energy. The air grew heavy, metallic, as they delved deeper, hinting at the technological monstrosity Aegis Corp had built beneath the pristine jungle. Kai, with her deep connection to the Lumina and her knowledge of the ancient pathways, led the way. She pointed out pressure plates on the floor, hidden trip wires, and subtle shifts in the air current that signaled a change in the environment. Apex, in turn, covered their rear, his tactical mind dissecting every potential threat, his hands ever ready on the hilt of his combat knife. They soon encountered Aegis Corp's security. Not just standard guards, but specialized units, heavily armed and seemingly devoid of fear. Their uniforms bore the distinct, stylized and quat, A and quat, logo. The fights were brutal, swift, and silent. Apex, a whirlwind of precision and power, disarmed and neutralized enemies with ruthless efficiency. His movements a blur of trained reflexes. Kai, on the other hand, displayed an astonishing control over the Lumina's raw energy. With a flick of her wrist, she could send waves of concussive force, create blinding flashes of light, or even subtly manipulate the environment, turning shadows into shields. As they pressed deeper, the tunnels gave way to modern, reinforced corridors. Steel doors, humming generators, and glowing data panels replaced ancient stones. They were now inside Aegis Corp's hidden facility. It was a monstrous underground complex, a chilling testament to humanity's capacity for technological ambition, twisted by greed. They overheard chatter on comms. Fragments of information about Lena. She was being held in a containment unit, her unique genetic makeup being exploited to stabilize the volatile Lumina for weaponization. The thought of His sister, a brilliant mind, being used as a living battery, fueled Apex's rage. Their path led them through a heavily guarded laboratory, where scientists in sterile suits frantically worked on complex machinery. Tubes pulsed with glowing liquid, and holographic displays projected intricate energy signatures. This was the heart of Aegis Corp's Lumina project. Here, they learned of Project Chimera, the development of a bioweapon using a corrupted strain of the Lumina, capable of inducing fear, paranoia, and obedience in its victims. Their plan was not just global dominance, but global control. Suddenly, alarms blared. They had been discovered. A squad of Aegis Corp's elite Spectre units, faster and deadlier than the previous guards, cornered them. These soldiers wore advanced exoskeletons, their movements superhuman, their weapons capable of firing energy blasts. A fierce firefight erupted. Apex used his environment, disorienting the Spectres, leading them into traps. Kai unleashed the full extent of her abilities, deflecting energy bolts, creating force fields, and disabling systems. Despite their incredible skill, they were outnumbered and outgunned. The sheer force of the Spectres pushed them back, forcing them to retreat further into the facility. During the chaotic skirmish, Apex managed to hack into a terminal, downloading critical data that revealed Aegis Corp's full plan. They intended to activate the weapon within 24 hours, unleashing Project Chimera upon key global cities, forcing governments to comply or face absolute psychological collapse. The countdown had begun. They found refuge in a ventilation shaft, gasping for breath, battered but not broken. The grim reality of their situation settled in. They were deep within enemy territory, Lena was being tortured, and the world was hours away from falling under Aegis Corp's sway. And Quat, they're too strong, and Quat, Kai admitted, her voice strained. And Quat, even with the Lumina, I can't take on an entire army. And Quat, Apex looked at her, his eyes firm. And Quat, we don't need to take on an army. We need to disable the weapon, rescue Lena, and expose Aegis Corp. And Quat, he pulled out the data drive. And Quat, this is their blueprint. It tells us everything we need to know, where Lena is, how the weapon works, and how to stop it. And Quat, he revealed a hidden compartment in his combat boot, pulling out a small, high-tech device, AEMP, electromagnetic pulse generator, disguised as a regular communicator. And Quat, my old unit developed this. It can overload their systems, but it has a limited range. We need to get close to their central core. And Quat, Kai studied the device, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. And Quat, the central core. That's where the Lumina is being amplified. It's the most heavily guarded section, directly beneath where Lena is being held. And Quat, their plan began to take shape. It was audacious, suicidal. Even, they would use the ventilation shafts to bypass security, create a diversion, disable the weapon, and then rescue Lena. But the facility was a maze, and every turn could mean their death. As they crawled through the narrow vents, the hum of the Lumina grew louder, a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated through their very bones. They knew they were approaching the heart of the beast, where Lena was captive, and where the fate of the world would soon be decided. The air thrummed with raw energy, a clear indication of the immense power Aegis Corp was about to unleash. Apex and Kai emerged from a ventilation shaft into a vast, cavernous chamber. This was Aegis Corp's central core, a colossal, dimly lit space pulsating with an ominous blue glow. In the very center, suspended within a shimmering energy field, was Dr. Lena Riley. She was unconscious, strapped to a massive, intricate apparatus, glowing faintly with the luminous energy. Her life force was being siphoned, powering Project Chimera. Around Lena, the Lumina crystal, now terrifyingly large, floated within its own containment field, its light violently fluctuating. A myriad of screens displayed incomprehensible data, and countless cables snaked from the apparatus to a giant, spherical device, the Chimera weapon, hovering ominously at the far end of the chamber. Scientists and elite Spectre units moved with urgent precision, making final adjustments. High above the chaos, on a command platform overlooking the core, stood General Thorne, resembling a stern, powerful figure from Image 6 or 7, perhaps with some steampunk elements, showing a fusion of old-world ruthlessness and futuristic tech. He wasn't just a general, he was the mastermind behind Aegis Corp, his cold eyes gleaming with fanaticism. He watched Lena, a cruel smile playing on his lips. And quote, the Lumina is almost fully charged. Doctor, and quote, Thorne's voice boomed across the chamber, amplified by the comms system. And quote, soon, the world will see true order. The age of chaos ends today. And quote, Apex felt a surge of cold fury. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus. And quote, we need to get to Lena and disable that weapon. And quote, he whispered to Kai. And quote, the EMP will disrupt their core, but we'll need to create a diversion first. And quote, Kai nodded, her eyes fixed on the Lumina. And quote, I can overload some of their subsystems. It'll buy us time. And quote, their plan was desperate. Kai began to channel the Lumina's raw energy, subtly sending surges into localized power conduits. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and minor alarms began to chime throughout the chamber. The scientists panicked, trying to identify the source of the malfunction. And quote, what is happening? And quote, Thorne roared, his composure cracking. And quote, find the breach. And quote, seizing the distraction, Apex executed his move. He dashed across the floor, dodging laser fire from bewildered Spectre units, making a beeline for a power junction box. With a practiced hand, he ripped open the panel and began hot wiring the circuits, creating a localized short. A blinding flash of light and a deafening explosion ripped through that section of the chamber, creating immediate chaos. And quote, intruders. And quote, a Spectre unit screamed. The firefight erupted. Spectres descended upon Apex and Kai, firing energy blasts and engaging in close-quarters combat. Apex was a force of nature, moving with brutal grace. He disarmed Spectres, using their own weapons against them, his body a blur of defensive and offensive maneuvers. He fought with a desperate ferocity, fueled by the thought of Lena. Kai, meanwhile, was a conduit of ethereal power. Blue energy surged from her hands, creating shields that deflected incoming fire, or manifesting as concussive waves that sent Spectres flying. She moved like a dancer, weaving through the chaos, her power growing with each enemy she faced. Yet, the sheer numbers of Aegis Corp's forces were overwhelming. More Spectres poured in, their relentless attacks pushing Apex and Kai to their limits. Thorne, now enraged, activated a failsafe. And quote, seal the core, eliminate them. The activation sequence continues, and quote, the chamber began to seal itself off, massive blast doors slowly descending. Time was running out. Apex, seeing an opening, sprinted towards Lena's containment unit, deflecting a barrage of energy blasts. He had to get her out. Kai, sensing his desperation, unleashed a powerful burst of luminar energy, creating a wide force field that briefly pushed back the specters, buying Apex precious seconds. He reached Lena's apparatus, desperately trying to disconnect the cables. But they were fused, designed to resist tampering. And quat. It's no good, and quat, he yelled. And quat. I can't disconnect her without damaging the core lumina. And quat. Suddenly, Lena's eyes flickered open. Weak, but resolute. And quat. Apex. The EMP. The primary conduit. It's connected to the weapon itself, not the core. You have to hit the weapon directly. And quat. She pointed a trembling finger towards the Chimera weapon. Apex. Understood. The EMP wouldn't just disrupt their systems, it would overload the weapon at its source. But it meant getting even closer, into the heart of the weapon's containment field. And quat. Kai. Clear a path to the Chimera weapon, and quat, he roared. Kai, seeing the urgency, pushed her powers to their absolute maximum. The smoky energy around her intensified, taking on a more defined, almost monstrous form, like the hand in Image 5, Gog and Magog, lashing out at the specters, creating a momentary corridor for Apex. She was pushing her limits, her body trembling with the strain. Apex, grabbing the EMP device, sprinted through the gap Kai had created. He leaped, dodging a final volley of fire, and plunged the device into a glowing port on the side of the Chimera weapon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a high-pitched whine filled the chamber, growing rapidly louder. The Chimera weapon began to spark violently, its blue glow turning red. And quat. No. What have you done? And quat. Thorn screamed, horrified. The weapon began to overload, its energy containment failing. The luminar crystal in the center of the chamber flared erratically. And quat. We need to get Lena out, now. And quat. Kai yelled, struggling to maintain her energy shield. Apex rushed back to Lena. With a desperate heave, he managed to sever the last critical connections, pulling his sister free just as the apparatus behind her exploded in a shower of sparks. Lena, though weak, was alive. But the Chimera weapon was in critical meltdown. Alarms shrieked. The entire facility began to shake violently. Thorn, seeing his empire crumble, tried to escape, but falling debris blocked his path. And quat. Run. Get out. And quat. Apex shouted, supporting Lena. Kai, using the last of her strength, created a massive burst of energy that tore open a structural weakness in the chamber wall, revealing a hidden escape route, a smaller, emergency tunnel. They fled, Lena leaning heavily on Apex, Kai protecting their rear with dwindling energy bursts. Behind them, the Aegis Corp facility began to collapse, consumed by the unleashed, volatile power of the Lumina. Explosions ripped through the underground complex, reducing Thorn's ambitions to rubble. They barely made it out, stumbling into the pre-dawn jungle as the ground convulsed. Behind them, the roar of the collapsing facility echoed for miles. As the dust settled, they looked back at the gaping maw where the facility once stood, now just a scar on the earth. Lena, slowly regaining her strength, looked at her brother, then at Kai. And quat. It's over. For now. And quat. Kai nodded, exhausted but triumphant. And quat. The Lumina is safe, but its balance is fragile. It needs a guardian. And quat. Apex looked at his sister, then at the mysterious guardian. His journey for rescue had turned into a greater quest. And Quat, then will be its guardians. Together, and Quat. The three stood together as the first rays of the sun pierced through the dense canopy, illuminating their wary but resolute faces. Their fight was won, but the echoes of the Lumina, and the threats it still posed, would forever bind them. The world was safe, for now, thanks to the legend of John. And Quat, Apex and Quat, Riley and his unlikely allies. Part 4, The Dawn of the New Age. Years passed, but the shadows of the Syndicate never truly receded. Apex, Lena, and Kai, now known only as the Sentinels, had become ghost legends. Operating from the hidden depths of the Amazon, their efforts dedicated to uncovering and dismantling the Syndicate's global operations. Their base, beneath the ancient temple, had evolved into a state-of-the-art sanctuary, a fusion of Lena's advanced tech, Kai's ancient knowledge, and Apex's strategic genius. The Lumina, now fully stabilized, pulsed with a gentle, protective energy, extending its influence across the Amazon, making it a natural fortress against Syndicate incursions. Lena had developed sophisticated cloaking devices, energy dampeners, and early warning systems, all powered by a harnessed fraction of the Lumina's benign energy. Kai, connected deeply to the Lumina, could sense threats miles away, her intuition now razor-sharp. And Apex, forever the vigilant warrior, had become a master tactician, leading countless covert missions to thwart Syndicate plots. Their fight had taken them across continents, from the icy peaks of the Himalayas, where the Syndicate sought an ancient relic of elemental control, to the desolate deserts of the Middle East, where they attempted to corrupt forgotten historical sites with a dark Lumina variant. Each mission was a desperate struggle, testing their limits, pushing them to evolve. They encountered new foes, cybernetically enhanced assassins, genetically engineered soldiers, and brilliant, ruthless Syndicate leaders, each driven by a thirst for power. Lena, once solely a scientist, had embraced her role as a strategist and tech expert. She could now manipulate complex systems with ease, turning enemy tech against them, creating intricate traps, and providing real-time intel that often turned the tide of battle. She was the mind of the Sentinels. Kai, the quiet guardian, had unlocked even deeper aspects of her connection to the Lumina. She could not only project energy but also create illusions so real they could deceive advanced sensors, heal grievous wounds with a touch, and even briefly glimpse into potential futures, guiding their decisions with an uncanny foresight. She was the spirit of the Sentinels. Apex, the grizzled warrior, had transcended his personal demons. He fought not with anger, but with a calm, focused resolve. He was the unwavering shield, the sharp blade, and the inspiring leader. He was the heart of the Sentinels, his loyalty to his sister and Kai absolute. He had found his purpose in protecting not just his family, but the delicate balance of the world. Their greatest challenge yet arrived in the form of Master Cygnus, the enigmatic, ruthless leader of the Syndicate. Cygnus was a ghost, a whisper in the global underworld, whose face had never been seen, whose voice was only heard through digital intermediaries. But his influence was absolute, his network vast, stretching into every corner of power. Cygnus's ultimate plan was revealed, Project Ouroboros. He aimed to merge all known ancient power sources, the Lumina, the elemental relic from the Himalayas, a temporal artifact from Egypt, and a psychic amplifier from forgotten lore, into a single omnipotent weapon capable of rewriting reality itself. His goal was not just control, but to become a god, to dictate the very fabric of existence. The Sentinels discovered that the final conduit for Project Ouroboros was located in a massive, floating fortress disguised as a cloud city, hidden within a permanent storm system above the Atlantic Ocean. It was impregnable, guarded by Cygnuses, elite apostles, genetically modified individuals with unique, devastating powers. This was it, the final stand. The Sentinels launched their most daring assault. Using Lena's cloaking tech and Kai's sensory dampening, they infiltrated the cloud fortress. The interior was a marvel of syndicate engineering, sleek, imposing, and humming with dark energy. Apex led the charge, a storm of controlled violence, clearing paths, engaging Apostolos in brutal hand-to-hand combat. His movements precise and deadly. Kai unleashed a torrent of luminar energy, deflecting laser grids, creating psychic disturbances that disoriented the Apostolos, and healing Apex and Lena from critical injuries. She moved with ethereal grace, a glowing beacon of raw power against the technological might of the Syndicate. Lena, meanwhile, hacked into the fortress's central control, battling against Cygnus's advanced AI defense systems. She uploaded viruses, shut down weapon systems, and pinpointed Cygnus's location, a heavily shielded command center at the very pinnacle of the fortress. The fight culminated in Cygnus's command center. The Syndicate leader was not a myth, he was a cold, calculating man, his face scarred, his eyes burning with megalomania. He was connected to the core of Project Ouroboros, his consciousness amplified, his will radiating a palpable sense of menace. Cygnus, using his connection to the nascent Ouroboros, attacked with mental projections, manipulating their fears, conjuring illusions of their greatest losses. Apex saw images of his fallen team, Lena saw corrupted versions of her scientific work, and Kai felt the Lumina itself being twisted into a tool of destruction. But they fought through it. Apex, his will unbreakable, lunged forward, engaging Cygnus directly. It was a brutal struggle, man against a nascent god. Kai, with a desperate surge of luminar energy, severed Cygnus's direct mental link to Ouroboros, briefly weakening him. Lena, seizing the opportunity, uploaded a final, catastrophic virus into the Ouroboros system, designed to cause a complete, irreversible overload. The fortress began to tear itself apart. Alarms screamed. Cygnus, enraged, unleashed his full power in a final, desperate attack. But it was too late. The Ouroboros project, overloaded by Lena's virus and destabilized by Kai's efforts, began to collapse in on itself, threatening to take the entire fortress, and potentially the world, with it. Apex, seeing the inevitable, grabbed Lena and Kai, and Quat, "We have to go now," and Quat, they barely made it to an escape pod, launching just as the entire cloud fortress imploded in a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar, leaving only a turbulent void where it once floated. Cygnus, and all his dark ambitions, were swallowed by the abyss. They landed safely in a remote, uncharted island, battered but alive. The sky was clear, the storm system gone. Project Ouroboros was destroyed. The Syndicate, decapitated by Cygnus's demise, and crippled by the loss of their core project, would scatter, their power broken. They had done it. They had saved the world. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the tranquil island, the three sentinels stood together. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. Their journey had been long, fraught with danger and sacrifice, but they had found not just purpose, but a new family. Lena, looking at the peaceful ocean, smiled. And quote, "The Lumina is truly free now. Its song is one of balance and life." And quote, Kai, her eyes shining with ancient wisdom, placed a hand on Apex's shoulder. And quote, "The world will always have shadows, Apex. But it will also always have guardians." And quote, Apex, his face softened, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips, looked at his sister and Kai. He was no longer just John Riley, the haunted soldier. He was Apex, the sentinel, the guardian, and the protector. His journey had come full circle. The legend had been forged, not in solitude, but in the unbreakable bond of family and purpose. The dawn of a new age was upon them, and the sentinels stood ready, forever vigilant. End of part 4.